Welcome to John Deere Country Part 2. I'm Jeff. We have a great show for you. Places to go, people to see. So let's get started. As always, we open with a song.
Thousands of people with skillful hands building hope across the land. Strong machines made with pride throughout the cities and the countryside, putting together dreams one by one, where everyone believes in a job well done. Well, I must be in John Deere country. Well, I must be in John Deere country. In John Deere country. Day by day, year by year, generations of families put their trust in John Deere. Mothers and fathers, daughters and sons know there's only one tractor that'll get the job done. People who do hard work understand the name that's known across every land. Well, I must be in John Deere country. Well, I must be in John Deere country. In John Deere country. Well, I must be in John Deere country. Well, I must be in John Deere country. Well, I must be John Deere country. Well, I must be John Deere country. John Deere country.
The two-cylinder John Deere tractors made between 1918 and 1960 generate an affection and loyalty that is passed from generation to generation. Why? Is it because John Deere tractors were dependable, didn't cost much to operate, and were easy to repair? Is it because when farmers were having it tough during the Depression, John Deere gave them extra time to pay? Maybe it's their distinctive green and yellow colors, colors that evoke sunshine and the lush green of a field of corn ready for harvest. Or maybe it's because of that unmistakable pop-pop sound the John Deere two-cylinder engine makes. Maybe it's all of the above, plus some things we haven't heard yet. So to find more answers, we traveled the country, meeting and chatting with folks who love John Deere tractors. First stop, Roy Pachy, Eau Claire, Michigan. Like many boys growing up on a farm in the 30s, Roy Pachy was introduced to John Deere by his dad.
He had a John Deere 39 Model B general purpose tractor that I grew up on. I loved that tractor. It was used for cultivating, for plowing, for running a binder. I plowed many an acre with that tractor. It was a pull-type plow. I cultivated many acres of corn with it. I was milking cows when I was age 5. So I knew what it was all about and what work was like, and I enjoyed it. Nothing for me to get up 4 or 5 in the morning, get the cows ready for milking. We didn't have videos to watch. Our own video was shooting marbles with the neighborhood kids. See who could win the most marbles. And then making our own toys. Now, we had a uniqueness. We'd take chunks of round wood and saw off a wheel like. The wheel would spin on a nail, and then we'd drive a short nail into a block of, say, a short piece of 2x4, cut out a slot in it, put 2 big wheels from a bigger block of wood for the back wheels, and that would be our tractor. That was our toys, homemade toys. I walked 3 miles to school in the morning, walked 3 miles home, and then I had chores to do when I got home. Sometimes I got a whipping at school. I'd run to the window, see who the farmer was. You're disturbing the kids. Okay, Roy, go stand in the corner. That's your punishment. My real love affair started when I started farming. We had a John Deere AO that my wife's dad had bought to spray the orchards with. And then it developed into, I bought a 720 diesel, like I restored. I farmed with that, planting corn, soybeans, and planting pickles for the neighbors. I'll tell you, I love that John Deere. The sound of it echoes today in my precious memories of it. The 720 has been restored and painted, and I call it agriculture ready style, because I like to hook a wagon to it. I like to hook maybe a chopper, which I'll be doing Monday, chopping a field with it. I appreciate my tractor because it still looks nice, and yet I can display it in parade, and still I can go to the field and I'm not afraid I'm damaging it. It represents a part of the country that never will be no more, these 2 cylinders. They just will linger on into the hearts of the farmers that had them for years and years to come. They just love it greatly. The John Deere story.
Roy likes to drive into town, show off his tractor, and remind folks of those who protect and serve us.
I'll jump on the tractor, come in, and come down to the mini mart, display the tractor and the flag at half-mast. That's how I represent the veterans, and for the police, the firemen, and the ambulance people. They love the flag. People love to see my tractor. They love John Deere's no matter whose they are, of the green and yellow. And that's how it is in Eau Claire, Michigan.
Today is the 4th of July, and Roy is getting ready for the big parade in Eau Claire. But the 720 is not behaving. After many tries, the old 720 finally decides to cooperate. It was a fine day for Roy. He drove his beloved 720 in the parade, waved to all the people, talked a lot about his favorite tractor, and had his picture taken. So what if it rained on the parade? A little rain, a stubborn tractor, nothing could put a damper on this day. Roy's favorite, the 4th of July. Take a vote on what is the worst job on a farm. High on the list, probably just after mucking out the horse and cow stalls, would be picking up field stones. Say hello to Greg Peterson. He's part of the Peterson farm family, whom has been farming this area in northern Illinois for 4 generations. The Petersons farm 1,500 acres, and the entire family pitches in. Greg and his sister Nikki, along with Mom Dawn and Dad Scott. Scott got started with John Deere early.
I grew up with my parents on this farm, and the John Deere machinery is all my dad's ever had. And I feel as though the quality of the product has always been there for us.
I didn't grow up with a bunch of machinery. I grew up on a dairy farm. When I came over here, I started working with the John Deere machinery and fell in love with it just as much. The green is the favorite.
This is a John Deere 8650. We bought it brand new, 1982. We have a John Deere 9300, John Deere 8650, a John Deere 4840, John Deere 4430, John Deere 4020, a 2630.
And an A, right?
Oh, a John Deere A, that's right. We have a John Deere A in the barn. If you take care of it, you get back out of it what you put in it. There is maintenance we can do in our shop, and if we do need outside help, we have very good dealership response that they send down technicians to help us. If you want the best return on your investment, you make sure you buy a can of green paint. A green tractor is going to give you back what you put in that John Deere tractor. That's my opinion.
They say you're lucky if you love your work. The Petersons sure are lucky.
But that's my love. Just that we're farming. That's my favorite part.
We've been to many tractor shows, impressive on how some of those guys can restore those old machines and take them back to original or better than it was when John Deere first made it.
Winter's over. It's May. Time to plant. Today, it's soybeans.
It's a great thing. You wait all year long for this. It seems to be a thing that's in your system. Yesterday wasn't the right day for this field, and today is. And that's just how agriculture works. There's no book on it. There's nothing that you can read to tell you that today's the day to do this. I guess it takes a lot of the opportunity of having a good father that taught me a lot of stuff, said when to get after it. And it's fun to stand out here today and do this work. It gets in your system. The reaping of the benefit of raising a quality crop with quality machinery and having an opportunity to raise a good family with what we reap off these fields.
Being able to spend time with your family. You spend a lot of time with family.
To grow up with your family, with your children. There are times that, no, we're busy. I can't deny that any farmer isn't outside trying to do the impossible sometimes, but the opportunity to have your kids around you a lot of times at your business, they become more of my friends than they do my kids now, and that's the part I really appreciate it a lot, you know, because Greg and Nikki, they're my buddies.
As your kids grow up and seeing how old our kids are, they've been able to help us and learn through their years what to do and when to do it. You have to love farming to be able to do it. It costs a lot, and you have to know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing and can't grow a crop, you never can make it. Greg wants to stay here with us. Nikki is going to college right now at Iowa State University. She wants to own her own cattle ranch. That's her goal. Hopefully she'll keep it up and keep those goals and make it happen.
It was a fine summer day, so Billy Donner and his dad decided to get out their old John Deere 40 and harvest some wheat. They invited their pals, Fred Headington and his son Doug, to join them. Fred and Doug brought their number 30 tractor-assisted John Deere combine.
We went out there with a John Deere 40 combine, self-propelled, and that was built around roughly probably about mid to late 50s, with a 10-foot grain table on it, with a John Deere 4-cylinder gas motor in it. And then we had another friend of ours came up from Indiana, Doug Headington and his dad, John Deere 1959, John Deere 730, hold tight 30 combine. If I remember correctly, I think I had about 6-foot head on it, ground-driven reel. And then we had 1959 630, like behind me, pulling the dump wagon. then. They didn't have cabs and air conditioning and everything else. And it's nothing to go across a new combine now with 40-foot head cutting wheat, and that one only had 10 foot, so it takes quite a bit more time. Imagine if you took that 40 combine and you knocked out, you know, figure about 20 acres, you had a big day, real big day. Any more than big combines, that's just getting warmed up. You could probably drive that little combine right in the grain tank of the big one. Oh, it goes way back to my grandfather. Always had John Deere, and my dad. Well, John Deere is always kind of stuck out because he always built good equipment. The people probably took a lot of pride in building good equipment, and it was always engineered right. And they've never really been bought out or sold out or nothing. It's just a strong company. This 40 combine, I got a good friend I met that had a 80/20 John Deere. I got it from him. He didn't use it anymore. And I went and picked it up, and it sat outside. So it hadn't ran in a long time until I actually got out there and ran it. And it has rust up in there. It just took a while for it to get shined up and all that. And when I took off, it just kind of got plugged up in the feeder house right behind the grain table. And we had to unplug it and then take off, and it broke a chain up in front. We fixed the chain and took back off, and then had a look at problems with it. We were very fortunate. That combine's been a pretty nice little combine, really. I got bigger combines. That one's just a little toy. Back then, that's when big family values were big. That's where families all around got together and did it. You know, you had, you know, it would be nothing if a thrasher machine came in there and had 4 families together, and all the women cooked, you know, lunch and all that, and while the guys were out, you know, chocking wheat and gathering it up and, you know, throwing it in the thrasher machine. It was just it was a big deal for the whole community.
What's a family from the south side of Chicago doing on a 140-acre farm in Three Oaks, Michigan? Here's their story.
We all grew up on the south side of Chicago. There's 6 of us, 5 boys and 1 girl. I'm in the middle. My father worked for the phone company for 30 years. I'm a carpenter by trade. My brother Jeff is a fireman by trade. My brother Michael was an aircraft mechanic. Farming was not in our background. We got into farming by my mother used to go up to my Uncle Bill's dairy farm in Park Falls, Wisconsin. And we would visit now and then over the summer. And I think that's really where the seed got planted in us. I'm always looking on and off through the years, looking to buy a farm and do hay. 5 years ago, we found this farm for sale that was has been abandoned, was actually abandoned for 15 years. I decided, hey, this is something we could do, so that's how we bought this farm and actually got started into it. Jeff, Mike, and myself probably have the biggest interest in the farming. The three of us, including my father, started actually farming the ground. It was something that really got attached to us. It's such an important part of our life right now, but we enjoy it. I think part of it is because it's family. I think you're all working together. It's not something that one person can do. It brings everybody together here, which is nice. I have 23 nieces and nephews, so I'm hoping that it's going to be the memories that we got from my Uncle Bill's farm, and I hope this will be memories that we're developing for the next generations. I hope the farm would be in the family forever. In the spring, you'll work it up, finish it, and you'll plant it. The difference from a hay crop, or I should say a hay field, is you're going to get 3 to 5 years depending on your yield of the crop. You'd like to get your first cutting about the 2nd or 3rd week of May, no later than the 1st week of June. And we'd like to get our 3rd or 4th cutting off no later than September. So we have a horse mixture, which is 50% alfalfa, 25% orchard grass, 25% timothy, which is kind of the ideal hay mixture for horses. If you were doing hay for just dairy farms, you'd do 100% alfalfa. So after September, you're basically done making hay, and you won't make hay again until the following end of May or beginning of June. So you need to, it's a challenge. We have to inventory a lot of our customers and keeping the hay here in our facilities, because obviously it has to stay covered and enclosed out of the weather. What we do during the winter is you harvest your crop all summer long, and you will sell some of your hay to individuals, horse owners, but almost every customer we have, we service them 12 months out of the year. So we stockpile the majority of our hay in our machine shed that I built and the dairy barn, and then normally about every 30 days, my father, Mike, Joff, myself will load up and do deliveries. We have 6 accounts that we service on a regular basis, 12 months out of the year. So the tough thing about that is, come our first cutting, the end of May, beginning of June, we basically would like to be out of hay so we can bring in the new first cutting. So that's always a challenge. Since we started producing hay, I think to make hay profitable, you have to be in the beef business. We did get in the beef business. We raised some Holstein feeder steers. And actually my daughter Megan, 2 years ago in the county fair, showed a feeder calf Holstein in the fair, which she actually won grand champion with, which was a really neat thing. I think all of us in this family enjoy doing a good job. If you're going to do something, put your heart and soul into it and do the best you can. I think the favorite part of the whole process, although whether it's working up the ground or planting it or cutting it or raking it, I think when you go through the steps and that hay is baled and you see it in the barn and a customer comes to pick it up or you deliver it, and they understand and they can see and appreciate the quality of the product you produce, really it's a combination of all of it that just really gives you a good feeling inside of a job well done. We basically have all the equipment we need to do what we need to do in the hay market. Our first tractor was a 3020. We basically tore it down to the frame, rebuilt the engine, sandblasted it, rewired it, repainted the whole thing, and that was our first tractor to work with. We have a 4430 John Deere, we have a 4450, and we have a 4320, which is a hydro. John Deere has been known to be steps above or ahead of everybody else in the agricultural equipment. And it's one of those things, once you have a couple pieces of equipment and you realize the quality of it and the dependability of it, you tend to want to stay with it. It makes it easier for servicing, for parts, and in that area. We're very, very happy with the John Deere equipment. I would do it all over again. I think we're very blessed to have something so wonderful for the whole family to enjoy. Something still so close to Chicago, being so close to the lake. It's something that I feel we're very, very lucky that we found it.
The Mayer family has been welcomed by the folks in Three Oaks.
Once you show them that you're doing this, it's not handed to you. It's taking a lot of hard work. It's taking a lot of energy and time and knowledge. And when that first crop was brought in, I noticed a big change in the amount of respect you have from the people around you that, hey, these guys didn't come from the city and aren't think they're farmers. So as we constantly keep trying to improve and work at it, people will always respect you for that. And I think that means a lot to everybody. I think it was such an eyesore for so many years, and part of the whole experience of this was to keep it a farm, to keep it a working farm, and to make it something that not only we're proud of, but the community is proud of.
We said earlier in the show that mucking out the cow stall was the worst job on a farm. So here's Brian, the city boy from Chicago, mucking out a cow stall in the dead of winter. It's cold and it's hard work. Let's see how the city boy is holding up.
It just doesn't get any better than this. I love it.
This is a Model N 1923 Waterloo boy. The first thing is turn on the gas, and then the gas gets to the carburetor. Then I prime a little bit in the 2 priming clubs. We turn it over, and if it fires, you need to rush back and then put your hand over the intake so you can choke it. Good tractors. They were very reliable. There's quite a few Waterloo boys left today, and I think they made somewhere around 30,000 of them, so that's a testament to their success is the number remaining and the desirability today. For as old of a tractor as it is a very smooth operating, nice handling. It's a pleasure to run, and you can see why a lot of guys bought them and kept them. With the belt pulley, they could do any kind of power work, whether it would be baling or maybe a small thrash machine. Waterloo boys are relatively easy to find. I mean, you can go to just about any show and see one. They were well built and long life. And the thing that's really helped save them probably also and then bring them to the forefront of collecting is the number of John Deere collectors and the desire of everybody maybe to own a Waterloo boy. They redesigned and used a lot of similar characteristics when they did the D. There's some big changes, but there's also similarities. I ordered brand new valves for an early D to put in this Waterloo boy. There are some parts that are interchangeable in the motor. So they used a well-developed, proven tractor engine, but then built on the weak points of the Waterloo boys. They just kept improving over that 30-year production. I think then the next thing that really happened was the development of smaller tractors, row crop design, so you could use them for multiple uses, whereas the D was a standard tread and was probably a lot more popular than the wheat country and in open areas, as opposed to Iowa, where we here in this area were smaller farms. So it was a big improvement when they come out with the A in 34, that you could adjust the rear wheels. And then as the A and the B developed, then they came into all kinds of other things, the single front wheel A and B, the wide front A and B, developed a taller tractor for other crops, which were BWHs or AWHs. They kept a smaller line of standard tread tractors, and that was found in the BR and the BO, BO for orchard, and then the AR and the AO. It was quite a line of tractors in the mid-30s. met the needs of just about all the farmers around. I personally like the older stuff, but as a testament to the newer stuff, I mean, the later stuff brings probably more money than the earlier stuff in today's world. My dad, having started collecting in 1974, bought his first antique tractor. He loved John Deere's since his uncles were in business in the 20s. Having grown up with this, I love it. You see new people and new faces. There was a handful of people that were saving this stuff, and now it's a popular, normal hobby with a whole line of restoration services to follow. I mean, it's just amazing. Good way to put it, a friend of mine said if I'd known if this is what would have happened, I would have sure bought a lot more tractors. Because we passed up a lot of $50 deals. What we started was a love and a passion for old tractors. I think that it's just grown. There are a few people I think that are in this just for the money, but it's not the money or the value. It's just the love of a piece of old iron that helped bring this country to where it is today. If it wasn't for that period of time from the early turn of the century, everything in our world comes from that. Whether it's automobiles, airplanes, tractors, the whole Industrial Revolution was short 100-year span. We have made more changes. And the forefathers that designed this and stuck with it till they perfected things we can all be thankful, and we all exist because of it. To know where we are today, it's important to know where we came from. My great-grandfather came to this particular part of Iowa in the late 1800s. All 8 of my great-grandparents are buried in the cemetery a mile from here. I didn't get too far away from where my ancestors came to. There's a lot of pride in having been multi-generations of farming Northwest Iowa land. The changes I think that are going to happen in the next 50 years, I cannot fathom what's going to happen. And I look forward to this once a year, and I go through withdrawal when it's over.
Starting out working with my dad and my uncle, cultivating with a B John Deere was my first experience with green. And my brother still owns that B John Deere today. And it's kind of a nostalgia, the fact that we still have that in the family. I started out with a couple red tractors when I first started living on acreage, and pretty soon it was turning to green, and then it was just more green, and it's just something that's been very exciting to work with. My dad farmed John Deere's all his life. He started out with a John Deere, and then he had an 8N Ford. He traded that off for a 520 John Deere, and then he went to the new generation of 23020s. And when he retired farming, that's what he was farming with yet then. It gets into the blood, I guess it is. You know, we all say if we're going to bleed green. It's interesting to see the number of people we have in the groups, but it's hard to get the younger generations into the 2-cylinders because they didn't grow up on the 2-cylinders. It's just still neat to see these guys restore, rebuild. The life that they bring back into these old green tractors is phenomenal. We started on a pretty much basket case A, a 50A, on the weekend of the 4th of July for my grandson. He's 10 years old. He has a very sincere love for this thing. I told him, I says, okay, I'll work with you. We'll put it in my shop, but you have to be here with me. And that kid has learned so many things from doing this. And it's that build of the younger generation that we need to do to bring them on, to make them realize that, hey, this is an interesting hobby. It's relaxation, but the thing is, when this old tractor is sitting out there in the grove and it doesn't run, and that day you hit that switch like the other night when that thing popped the first time, we all just howled. It's phenomenal. This isn't just a tractor show. The horses will be out here. The horses will be pulling wagons. They'll be using horsepowers. They'll be doing thrashing. Many activities going on here. It's just a well-rounded type of a show. They've tried to teach young people what it was like way back years ago. These people in this area have bonded in that respect again to pull this together, and they're a very dedicated group of people that are members of this organization. That's what we're trying to teach the younger generation in the areas here, around here, is the fact that their grandparents and their parents were very hard workers, and there is work to be done in this world. We have the 40, 50, B, and an MT. And the MT belongs to my wife because we went to a tractor show in New York 2 years ago. She bought raffle tickets, 6 tickets for $5, and Memorial Day weekend they called and they wanted to talk to her. Well, she had just won a tractor. And I says, what kind of a tractor? Oh, well, an MT. It was totally restored, and the only catch was we'd have to go get it. And I asked her, I says, what are we gonna do? Well, we're gonna go get it. One of the grandsons, Adam, and I and my wife took off on a long weekend, and we went clear down darn near Philadelphia and picked that tractor up and hauled it back home again, and that's been her pride and joy. We both have a lot of enjoyment in it. She's very active in the club. My son-in-law, my grandsons, my daughter, we all really enjoy what we're doing with it. It makes a close family tie.
Here I'm sitting on, it's a 1925D. It's called a spoke model, spoke flywheel, and they're really sought after by collectors and so forth because they're early model, and there were just a lot of them that there weren't a tremendous amount of them built, and then there were a lot of them that were scrapped out, like in World War II and that, for iron, because iron was in demand. So the ones that are left are really sought after. That's the reason that I and a friend restored this one. I found this tractor in Arkansas. It's a rice model, which I didn't even know until I owned it for a couple of years. John Deere, one of the reasons that they became popular was they were really easy to work on. If you had a screwdriver and a crescent wrench and a vice grip pliers and a little bit of knowledge, you could more or less keep the blame thing running, you know. That was one. And then they also burnt fuel, kind of like kerosene, which was real cheap to buy. And you could buy kerosene for, well, just a few cents a gallon. And a tractor, it would replace probably like 5 horses or more on a farm. So it was a change from the horses to tractor power. Are just about like motor vehicles. Some guys, they got Fords and some got Chevys, and I mean, sometimes they don't even know why they favor them. I grew up with John Deere and learned how to work with them and understand them, and spent hundreds and hundreds of hours actually in production with one. They were very durable. You had to be literally mean to them to hurt them. They are kind of a pretty tractor, and you get the yellow and the green put together and get it done right. And then the 2 cylinders that make the Johnny Pop sound. That's really one of the big things. They're, you know, you can tell a John Deere running a half a mile away if the wind is right, so you can hear it. You know, they don't have that steady purr like a 4-cylinder tractor. So the 2-cylinder design is quite unique. And this is history of farming, or rural America, actually, what we got out here. John Deere has played a real important part in agriculture over the years, in food production. They ran cheap, they ran forever, and they were simple to fix. I guess that's the real crux of it. John Deere's are special to me because during World War II, I was 6 years old roughly. My dad bought a B John Deere. My dad bought a little bigger model, an A John Deere, and shortly after that I was doing just about all the, that was really considered a big tractor because it had about another 10 horsepower, and it had a starter. The first tractor didn't have a starter. You had to turn it by hand to start it, and sometimes if they were cantankerous, they wouldn't always want to start. And me as a young guy, you know, 6, 8 years old, I'd have to really get on there to start it. Really pull hard, you know, to get it started. But the new tractor he bought in 52 had electric start, so you press the button, turn the key on, and press the button, and man, you were running, you know, which was just a fantastic improvement over the hand starter. And I spent hundreds of hours on that John Deere because, I was old enough to plow and harrow and do all the farm tasks, haul out the manure with the manure spreader. And as a young fellow, I was ambitious, and they would let me do things that I wanted to do. There was nothing like the fresh smell of fresh plowed soil, or hay drying. You get, and none of you, probably some of you kids never been near a hay field that's been cut, but it has an aroma about it when it's drying that to me was always a real pleasant experience. And then also going out and harvesting the small grain. I used to drive the tractor on a grain binder. That's a machine that would cut the grain and make bundles out of it. And then, of course, we'd have to put the bundles in shocks, we call it. And then later on, we would haul them into the thrashing machine. And I do a lot of farming with Johnny Poppers. They aren't my main tractors, but I do a lot of farming with them.
I've been farming here in Ventura County, just east of Santa Paula, since 1975. I've been in citrus all this time. We've had some crop changes over the years. We're now in both late navels and lemons, and we have some avocados, and we're also growing some red beets right now. So we have row crops as well as the tree crops. The tractor you see behind me is a 1936 John Deere B orchard model. It's been in the county all its life, and it was among the first of the orchard models produced when John Deere came out with new designs in 1935. And it went to work for Yale Richardson, who was temporarily retired and went to sleep under a tree. Tractors get obsolete also, so it stayed there till 1995, and I got it from him for $500. By that time it had been through a brush fire, so the tires were gone, the sheet metal was a pile of rust, and the restoration began. Did all the painting work on it, so it's a joint project. We completed it in 1999. First thing we want to do is make sure the clutch is out. Make sure it's out of gear. Want the throttle set about halfway. Going to turn the fuel on. There we go. Get on now and go for a ride. Most of its time it gets to go to parades and shows because it's an attractive old machine. It's easy to handle and easy to move around. 4 speeds forward, 2 speeds reverse. Nominally a 2-plow tractor, but not if you're plowing in Ventura County ground. It's got wheel weights on it, so it runs out of power before it runs out of traction. As you probably have noticed, it's a manual start tractor. It's elegant simplicity. There's no fuel pump. It's gravity feed from the fuel tank to the carburetor. It's got no water pump. It's thermosiphon cooling from the radiator through the block and the head. The wiring diagram has 2 lines on it, 1 to each cylinder. It's magneto ignition, no generator, no lights, no heater. It's air conditioned. We call it a convertible, low budget convertible. And it was designed so it could be well understood and maintained by the owner because there wasn't a large dealer network at that point in time.
Larry grows lemons for Sunkist and is a member of the Topa Topa Flywheelers Tractor Club. Larry loves driving around in his John Deere Bee Orchard tractor. Jim Busharng is a good friend of Larry's and is also a member of the Topa Topa Flywheelers Tractor Club. Jim is from Oxnard, California. He's a sod farmer and is very proud of his rare and beautifully restored 435 diesel. The 435, introduced in 1959 and powered by a GM diesel engine, was John Deere's answer to the demand for a small diesel-powered tractor. John Deere's first diesel tractor was the Model R, introduced in 1949. Diesel-powered tractors had become popular in the 50s because diesel fuel gave the farmer more bang for his buck. For example, a gas-powered John Deere would go through 70 gallons of gas on a long summer's day. A diesel-powered tractor would use only 20 gallons doing the same work, and diesel fuel costs less than gasoline. If you want to get a farmer's attention, show him how to save money. So the new diesel-powered tractors grew in popularity during the 50s. General Motors' diesel engine sure doesn't sound like the old Johnny Poppers. Just listen to the difference. Here's a Johnny Popper. Now listen to the 435 diesel.
Well, it started with that D that's on the truck down there. Then it's a 1924. He bought it brand new. That was his first John Deere. Was a spoker tractor. I literally grew up on that tractor, you know, because we used that tractor in heavy farm service till 1955. Well, we had a G John Deere along with that D and a B, but the D did the majority of the plow work. That was our main plowing tractor. If it wasn't green and yellow, he didn't want it on the place.
Hank, seems like many farmers feel that way. When did your dad's loyalty to John Deere begin?
Well, I think with my dad, it had a lot to do with the Depression. When the Depression was on, John Deere was not a company that come out and got your equipment. They worked with the farmer. They waited for their money. And I think that had a lot to do with it, besides they had a good product.
John Deere continued to make a complete line of implements designed to fill every farmer's need, including harvesters.
We started out with 11A and then had a 12A, and then we got a 30, and then a 45 squareback, self-propelled, and then later years we had a 55 self-propelled. The self-propelled combine went way back, really, but you didn't see them around this part of the country. But out west, they had self-propelled combines long before we had them around here because of the large acreages they do. You know, if we had 40 acres of wheat and probably 20 acres of oats, that's all we had. Then, of course, beans. We were big in corn and beans. Beans were a heavy crop. We had a 70 John Deere 70 tractor running that, and it did a fine job. D's are pretty slow. Top speed on a styled D is 5 miles an hour. I have a 1940 D. That D I hauled in from Montana. They were a real popular tractor out there. A D was really too big for this part of the country. Back then, I mean, the D, after all, was the top of the line John Deere in 1940. That's the biggest tractor they made. That was styled. That was the second year for the styled tractor. That particular tractor was built in December of '39, but sold as a 40. Then the next one in line there is that 47D. That's styled. The 40 is also styled, but it's hand start, no lights, just a plain tractor. Like I say, when I was cranking on that old one, I always dreamed of having one with an electric starter. The next tractor in the line is a 1950G. That's waiting to be restored. It's in pretty sad shape right now. But I think that's another reason that Mr. Farmer stuck with him. He could work on it. If he had a clutch go out, why, he'd pull the facings out of the clutch pulley and put new facings in and put it back together, and he was back running. He didn't have to split the tractor in half. I know when I'm helping the Donners in the spring, chisel plowing, I think of my dad telling me that when they first got that D, that they could do 10 acres a day, one man. Not a long day, he could plow 10 acres with that old D. Well, one man and a walking plow had to put in one heck of a long day to get 1 acre. And I'm sitting up there in that old four-wheel drive chiseling 10 acres an hour. I think, boy, if Pop could see this, you know. I'm restoring a little MT right now out in the garage. It's in pretty sad shape. M stood for M tricycle. That's MT. See, they built an MC, that's the M crawler, and then the plain wide front end was just the M. I got another MT sitting over here in the woods. I don't know what I'm going to need it for parts for the other one or what I can make. I'm going to try to make 2 tractors. I saw a D like my old one bring 34,000. Somebody wanted a tractor real bad. I wouldn't take that for mine because it was my dad's. And I hope my son won't sell it for that either, but that's his business. When I'm dead and gone, I got no say, you know. I've got no intentions of ever selling any of it. The deal I made on that 40, the gentleman that I bought that from, he was so afraid that I was going to take it back here and sell it for big money. You know, I said, no. I said, I'll never sell that tractor. And another thing I hate to see happen is, like happened with the cars, everything has to be just perfect and judging. I say no judging in tractors. It's a tractor show. We're there to have fun. When you start judging and all that, the fun goes out the window and it's big money. And that's why you don't see a mirror type paint job on any of my tractors. I just play around here with them. I cut my firewood, just play with them. If I can't take it out and use it, I don't want it. I don't want it fixed up and sitting in the shed all pretty and covered up and everything else. If I can't take it out in the woods and use it, I don't want it. I bleed green.
These were just a few of the stories of folks who love John Deere. There are others all over the world echoing the same feelings. Well, time to go. Hope you enjoyed the show. See you next time in John Deere Country Part 3. We'll visit the John Deere Waterloo operations and show you how they make John Deere tractors.
Thousands of people with skillful hands building hope across the land. Strong machines made with pride throughout the cities and the countryside. Putting together dreams one by one, where everyone believes in a job well done. Well, I must be in John Deere country. Well, I must be in John Deere country. In John Deere country. Day by day, year by year, generations of families put their trust in John Deere. Mothers and fathers, daughters and sons know there's only one tractor that'll get the job done. People who do hard work understand the name that's known across every land. Well, I must be in John Deere country. Well, I must be in John Deere country. In John Deere country. Well, I must be in John Deere country. Well, I must be in John Deere country. Well, I must be John Deere country. Well, I must be in John Deere country. John Deere country.
New from TM, John Deere Country Part 1, how the John Deere Combine is made. TM cameras were allowed inside the John Deere Harvester Works for a rare and fascinating look at how they make the world's best-selling combine. See each step in the process, from metal fabrication, painting, welding, sub-assemblies, main assembly, final inspection, to combines being loaded on trucks and flat cars for delivery all over the world. Bonus features include rare archival footage of the first self-propelled John Deere combines, starting with the 55 introduced in the late 40s. 1 hour, 20 minutes of all new John Deere action. Prepare to be amazed. New from TM, John Deere Country Part 3, how John Deere makes tractors. TM camera crews visited the John Deere Tractor Works in Waterloo, Iowa, where John Deere makes their 7,000, 8,000, and 9,000 series tractors. Get ready for an exclusive behind-the-scenes look at John Deere's new multi-million-dollar robotic paint installation. See 9,000 series tractors on the main assembly line. See both track and wheeled tractors working the field with the latest implements and using Green Star, John Deere's state-of-the-art global positioning satellite technology. Plus rare John Deere archival footage showing how tractors were made in the 20s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. Over 2 hours of great John Deere tractor action, both in the factory and working the fields. John Deere Country Part 3, how John Deere makes tractors. Prepare to be amazed. About John Deere, Parts 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 40-minute DVDs featuring irresistible Johnny Poppers from the past, plus the latest and greatest from John Deere. Big four-wheel drive tractors, amazing combines, planters, you name it, you'll see it in All About John Deere. Plus, more fun with Otto, our pal who is always getting into trouble. All About John Deere, Parts 1, 2, 3, and 4. Great entertainment for the entire family. Buy the 4 DVD box set and save money.
John Deere, singing strong and loud, John Deere, stands out in the crowd, John Deere, makes America proud, it's all about John Deere.
Prepare to be amazed.
First ever engine of its kind, left the others far behind. Only 2 cylinders make her go. When you hear that sound, everyone will know. Listen, chums, Johnny Popper, now here it comes. Johnny Popper. When you hear that sound coming through your town, the answer is clear, it's a big John Deere.
From the creators of the popular All About John Deere video series comes an all-new series, John Deere Action. More wall-to-wall John Deere. Part 1 covers the cotton picker, spring planting and cultivating, the 80-20 reunion, skid steers,
There's nothing else like driving hard,
motor graders,
big machine,
and much more. Plus new songs by James Coffey. John Deere Action Part 1. If you love John Deere, you'll love this show.
John Deere Action. Where people plow the fields until the ground. You won't find a more.
We first visited John Deere Heaven in All About John Deere Part 4. People enjoyed the trip so much, we decided to return and stay for an entire show. See John Deere toys come alive in this fanciful, fast-paced mix of toy trains, tractors, and big machines. TM's video magic will thrill and delight young and old alike. See Owen standard gauge John Deere trains zip around elaborately detailed train displays, along with John Deere toy tractors, cars, and trucks. Plus 10 original songs by our favorite singer-songwriter, James Coffey. Otto is in town, and his little switch engine is blocking the main line. And here comes the circus train. Oh no! If you love John Deere toys, music, and fun, buy this DVD. You'll love it. Guaranteed.
John Deere Heaven.
I love Toy Trains, one of the most popular children's series in the country. See Toy Trains, Real Trains, Funny Toy Train bloopers,
Oh no!
and the music of award-winning singer-songwriter James Coffey. 12 shows on 4 90-minute DVDs, plus the final show, a 45-minute special, and oh no, wall-to-wall laughs and fun. 14 shows, all on 6 DVDs. Awards include the prestigious Parents' Choice. For more information, call 800-892-2822 or visit us on the web at tmvv.com.
It's a wonderful kind of feeling. That's the reason I love toy trains.
Saddle
Don't miss All About Cowboys Part 1, 45 minutes of exciting cowboy action. See amazing trick riders, heart-pounding rodeo action, a world-class trick roper, original music by Bethany Zill, plus lots more.
My Phyllis dear, to yon blue mountain free, where blossoms smell the sweetest, come roll along with me. It's every Sunday morning when I am by your side. Let's jump into the wagon and we'll all take a ride. Wait for the wagon, wait for